Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber Shop, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Eric Tilson and a very special guest, Robert Starnes. Guys, how are we doing today?
Doing good. How are you guys?
I'm doing amazing. We're actually on location, on site here at Starnes Barber Shop. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We had joked about it a few weeks ago where we'd been needing haircuts, and we're presented by a barbershop. So we might as well come in here on the bye week on fall break and get a haircut while we're doing the show. So we talked about it. This first part will be the longest. So I think it makes most sense that I get the haircut first, and then when we talk about the bye week, we'll get yours in on the second half.
Yeah, but the second one's going to be pretty short.
You think so?
Yeah. Well,
under 5 minutes, how long do you think it'll take?
It's already.
Hit the happy medium. We'll say 5.
5, gotcha. But I'm excited. I've never done one in a barbershop before. I'm excited to be here. Love the shop. First time I've been here. I love it.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
A lot of hard work, but we still keep it going. Try to service all of Greene County, Baileyton especially, but do good.
I mean, we say it all the time. If you ever need a haircut, come in here to Starnes Barber Shop. They'll get you right. And I guess we'll find out today. This is the first time I've personally been cut here. Same for you. So let's see how it goes. But let's talk about some football also. Had Eagleton this past Friday night. After a very unusual week, we finally got back on the field. Got a game in on Friday night. Played a really good team. Was able to get some offense in on a really good defense. Just take me through that game against Eagleton the other night.
Well, first off, I have to commend my kids because they had a lot of adversity throughout the week in terms of we were playing, then game get canceled, Williamsburg game gets canceled. Then all of a sudden we're like, okay, we're not playing next week. Then they shut school down, no athletics whatsoever. Then we get word, okay, we are playing. Okay, we're playing Cloudland. Now we're not playing Cloudland. And we're in the middle of practice when all this is happening too. Like we're getting notifications in the middle of practice. We're doing a Cloudland period, and we're like, do we still need to work on Cloudland?
Yeah.
And then we schedule. I mean, it was like Tuesday after practice we get Eagleton scheduled. So now we only got a couple days. So now we're back and forth, and that I mean that's hard mindset on a coach to kind of go back and forth, and we get film Wednesday morning, and it's a mad dash trying to get everything done, and then for our kids to be able to flip this switch, I mean it's hard to do. So. Just to be able to go play another game. Really appreciative of Eagleton. They were a great host. They gave us a trailer full of donations, and they took up money at the gate for people in need. So they went out of their way to help out. Of course, everybody's kind of been affected in different ways. But in terms of the football standpoint, we knew we were coming in. It's a good team, and going into it, thought, okay, their quarterback's legit. We have to be able to stop their quarterback, and then their running back, who hadn't done very much. He had done some in previous games, but he lit it on fire, and they were a lot faster than what we were expecting. But again, we game plan for take out quarterback, and for the most part in the run game we did, but it didn't really matter because their running back had a really, really good game. Then offensively, we knew we could. We had a pretty good shot, especially skill wise. They're well coached, and so we knew it was one of those type of games. Those type of games are fun as a coach, especially offensively, because sometimes when you go into a game, you're not having to play the chess pieces. You're just kind of throwing out your offense, just doing what you want to do. Well, this type of game, they brought enough variances. They had different calls for second and long, third and short, different parts of the field. So it was like a cat and mouse game, trying to figure out, okay, when they're going to bring pressures, when are they going to be dropped back in their normal coverage, when are they going to change fronts. So it was a fun game to call, and it helps when your quarterback's playing really well too, making real good decisions. He himself, he had about close to 300 total yards of offense himself, and he protected the ball really well. he threw a pick on the first drive, but he knew it as soon as he let it go. We were just trying to squeeze in a slant. They were playing soft coverage, the single receiver side, and he just started to go there, and he let it launch a little bit. And he knew it as soon as he came sideline. It's like, I overthrow it, it won't happen again. Then we throw the same play later on the 4th down, and he throws it right on the money where it's supposed to be. So, and that was his first pick in like 5 games. So I think I'll take it. So he's been playing extremely well, and he's getting better each week too, especially throwing the ball wise.
Got ready to comment too. I've seen him really develop over the past what little I've watched over the past couple seasons that I've seen him play.
He's been doing a great job. Especially we struggled a bit up front. They brought a lot of different type of pressures, a lot of different movements, and again, when you got a whole week to prepare, you can get prepared for it.
Yeah.
But
you didn't have that long.
No, we did not, and we struggled a bit up front, and a lot of that had to do with what they're doing. They had a couple really good defensive linemen. They're 44. They're strong. Field side defensive end goes to their strong side. He's a state medalist in wrestling, and
he's a very strong kid.
Yes, I knew one of them was really good at wrestling,
Yeah.
and then he started playing. I was like, that kid's it. So we tried to neutralize him by not blocking him. So one way we can take kids out of the game like that is by reading them, making them sit and make a decision whether you're going to tackle a running back or tackle a quarterback. So that was one way, but when we had to block him, it was hard to do. Then I had a couple other defensive linemen that was good pass rushers, so we gave up a couple sacks, and again, a lot of that brought well-timed pressures, and they were pretty good up front, and we just had trouble protecting, and that goes back to, like I said, how good Thomas has been playing, because he will stand in the face of pressure and throw the ball, and that's not something most quarterbacks have. And he does a real good job. And then run game wise, thought we struggled early, and then we started getting it rolling once we kind of figured out what was defensively, what the structure was, and we started blocking things correctly. Then we were able to start getting those big chunk plays. But our offense, we're successful when we don't give up negative yards plays. We got to win first down, and we weren't doing that consistently enough. And but the thing is, like the entire night, even on plays because we turned the ball over 3 times, we drove the ball every single time we had the ball, and we were pretty efficient. And it don't mean much based on the final score, but offensively, we've had the most success of any team they played.
Something I mentioned as we walked off the field, that's the most amount of points they've allowed all year.
Mm-hmm. And we left about 2 or 3 touchdowns off the board. Overall pleased offensively. We got some things to clean up. Because we're going to see that type of pressure again here in a couple weeks. We've got to be able to clean that up. Make sure quarterback stays standing. And if we don't give up sacks, don't give up turnovers, we're pretty explosive offensively.
I want to talk about the offensive drives a little bit that ended up with touchdowns, because you had 4 total on the night. We talked about Thomas Darnell being accounted for 3 of those. He had 2 on his feet, 1 passing, and then you had 1 rushing with Yeshua Vaught. I just want you to take me through each of those scoring drives and talk about what led to those, because the first one you had Yeshua Vaught's 3-yard touchdown that he had, and if I remember correctly, I think he did most of the work to get down there too.
Well, we found, again, part of offense play calling is structure-wise, you're trying to find where their weaknesses are, and then you're trying to catch them in certain coverages. Well, most teams, if they're not changing up their defense a whole lot, then you can find that formation staying in it the entire time.
Yeah.
Well, they're varying up their play calls quite a bit. So once we found the formational drive, if you notice, we were like lightning fast on that drive.
Yeah.
Because we ran the same play 3 times in a row because we caught them in something, and then we just made them stay in it because they didn't have enough time to change their play call.
Hey, one of my favorite sayings, "Ain't broke, don't fix it."
No doubt. And so we were in the same play call. And the thing about most of our run game is we can call the same play and something different can happen. So it could be a handoff, it could be a keep, we could throw it. Because most of the time we have some sort of pass concept, and then we got a run game attached to it. And it just so happened on that drive, that the 44, their defensive end, had sat and waited on the quarterback. We were able to run underneath of it. Yeshua had one of his bigger runs of the night, and then we ran the same play again. He walks into the end zone.
Yeah.
And those couple times we blocked it perfectly, because some of those negative yards plays, we just didn't block the 3 technique. Like not even we got beat on the 3, we just didn't block them.
Mm-hmm.
So like it was a missed assignment, and when we had the right assignment, we did very well up front, and then and it felt like we had to work really hard to get to that point, because it took us a little while to get off the bus. So, like I said, it's been a crazy week, and then our bus ride ended up taking twice as long as what it's supposed to, because we got hit in some traffic on 81 and 40 on the way down there. So we were about late to the game.
What time did you show up?
It was about 6 o'clock for a 7 o'clock kickoff.
Okay, yeah, so that doesn't give you
hardly much warm up.
No.
And we left around 3 o'clock.
Wow.
So it was
really long night.
And luckily we got notifications about some of the accidents that were coming. So it was a interesting day for sure. But then next drive, we started getting some chunk plays. We ran some play action passes, and Darnell, some of his reads are I throw the flat, I throw the deep route, or I run. And some of those he made the decision to run. That's where he got a couple of his big ones on some play action passes. Mm-hmm. And then we were able to get a couple chunk plays. And then we get the ball down on the 2-yard line, and we ran I wouldn't really call it a trick play, but it's a backside throwback pass. And they had substituted, so they went into a heavy personnel. So they brought in like 6 defensive linemen.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, running the ball's out of the question, because they've got about 8 in the box and they play main coverage behind it. So we ran a little throwback, so we running speed option right, and then we sneaked Jake out of the backfield to the back corner of the end zone. And we ran that first play. Well, we didn't throw it backside, it was wide open. So I was like, there's no way that they're going to, because we'll call timeout again.
Yeah.
They're gonna fix that and go from there. So we ran a RPO run, and we ran like almost a scissors concept. We got some crossers in the end zone because they're running man coverage. Just didn't complete it. And then on the 4th down, we called timeout, and we're going back to that play. First time we had motion Jake to that point. This time we left him without motion. We're hoping that the line will be able to hide him, and they left it wide open again. This time we threw it, was able to complete it. So that goes into our 2nd touchdown.
It was a fun play to watch from my point of view too, because I've mentioned it a few times where when I'm recording the plays from behind the end zone or on the sideline, sometimes I can't watch the play develop. I have to watch it through the phone screen. So seeing Thomas run the speed option and then stop and throw it across the field, I didn't know who was over there. It's the least of what you expect too, because that's one thing that a lot of teams don't do in football is you don't pivot and throw to the other side of the field. So I didn't know who was over there. When the ball's in midair, I kind of had a what the heck moment, because I'm thinking, well, why is he going across his body, throwing all the way to the other side of the field? But like you said, nobody picked him up, wide open in the back of the end zone. Great play concept. I wouldn't call it a trick play either, but in my article I did say it was a little trickery.
It kind of is a trick play, but at the same time it's not. It's a basic concept, but the only difference is like we ran, it's a post wheel concept is all it is, and we just ran a wheel to the back side, and then we had the post wheel to the front side. The only difference is we just moved the pocket to the right hash, threw the ball back to the left, and I guess that's where the trickery comes in. So, because one thing too is if you're struggling to protect against like a good defensive front, one way you can help your line out is by moving the pocket.
Yeah.
And moving the quarterback around. That's why play actions are real good. That like a speed option sprint out look is real good for offensive line, because if the defensive line is able to pinpoint where the quarterback's going to be every play, it becomes really hard to protect. And I know that from personal experience because I've had to do it. Where if you're having to sit back and drop back pass, and that D lineman's able just to pinpoint where it is, it's hard. But if he doesn't know where the quarterback's going to be, it makes it difficult to pass rush. So that's one way we can protect. because sometimes O-line have bad names, and it's not necessarily on them. Sometimes it is their opponents are pretty good. So I think combination of long week, we didn't play well, and our opponents were good, just kind of tripled down on some of the struggles up front. And then last couple drives, a lot of it is Thomas making good decisions and with his feet, and we just kept relying on it because we found a box that we liked. In order to get numbers in the run game, we had to run our quarterback to get it, and we ran a couple design quarterback runs, and he made a couple reads himself, and the one he scored on was actually the same play that Yeshua scored on earlier. He just kept the ball and took it in.
Was that the 31-yard score?
No, that was I don't believe that one was
the goal line score.
Was the goal line score.
Okay.
Because we had changed personnel on the goal line score because they went heavy, so we went heavy, and then that gave us some extra numbers in the box to help run the ball at that point.
What about the 31-yard play that he had? What was kind of the drive leading up to that play, and how were things going with that one?
Well, that one I'm trying to remember. I'm having a hard time remembering that one.
I know it was right after halftime.
Okay, so coming out the gate, we knew we was able to get the ball. We knew we could go down and score, and we just kind of kept them off balance with a lot of different range screens on that drive. Ran some intermediate concepts, so we took one. We got a 10-yard out. We completed. And we ran a stick. Jake made somebody miss. I think Brandon caught a ball on that drive. And then Yeshua ran a couple, and then Thomas took it down from there. Just made a big play. He had one long run, I think, on a play action where he took off and ran. I'm trying to remember if he scored on that play or if it was another play. But again, a lot of it has come down to the quarterback making pretty good decisions, and receivers are doing a good job of blocking down the field, springing those 15-yard runs, making them turn into 30-yard runs.
Yeah.
But we had a couple missed opportunities. One kid in particular has been blocking pretty well is Matthew Boyd. He had a real good block on a screen. We threw it out to Braden Weems. He caught the screen, and it could have been a touchdown. He just caught it, kind of stepped out of bounds, and that would have been a big play there. So that was kind of a night of missed opportunities. And
was that the one right before halftime?
I think so.
I think so too. I was wondering because from our viewpoint on the opposite side of the field and the opposite sideline, it was hard to tell. And I went back and I watched that play too, and you couldn't really see if he was close to the sideline or not.
Yeah, it was a designed screen out, just a quick screen, catch ball, get upfield, and Matthew had a real good block and actually sealed the corner inside. And corners are supposed to be the outside edge, and he tried to tuck it and go, and it just stepped out of bounds before he was able to get a chance from there. But then another positive is our kicker was perfect on the night again.
Hey, you beat me to it. That's who I was going to mention next. Our boy Juan Soto, 4-4 on extra points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We talked about the record that he had against Hancock County. I think was the most consecutive that he had ever kicked.
Well, if that was most consecutive, then
that he's building upon that record right now because he's done a great job so far. And we had talked about how once he had came in, you were kind of teaching him to become that full-time extra point kicker, and once you've started to utilize him, he's done a great job so far. Mm-hmm. And luckily for him, he's been able to get out there a few times too, because here in the last 2 games, you've been able to score a lot.
Yep.
Do y'all know his record right now?
He's 12 for 12.
12.
He's 12 for 12. He didn't start kicking extra points on Hancock County. Didn't want to throw him out there too early.
Yeah, I perfectly understand that.
And then we've been doing a good job. Coach Bailey's been doing a good job trying to coach him, that is no easy task given the language barrier.
Yeah.
But he's starting to learn. He hasn't quite figured out that he can kick it farther, especially on kickoff yet. He's still just kind of easing into his kicks. Once he figures out how to place his foot and actually put his whole power into the football,
yeah,
he's going to be pretty special.
What's his grade right now?
He's freshman.
Question too.
What is it?
He's freshman.
Freshman.
Yes.
So that's a big plus.
Oh yeah.
Huge.
Well, all I know is the soccer team is going to be extremely excited because he's a big time soccer player.
Oh, cool. Where's he going to play soccer?
We co-op with Chucky Dope.
Chucky Dope. Cool.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll see his name a lot in the spring.
I would imagine so.
And I'm gonna imagine that I'm gonna see his name for 3 more years here at North Greene too, kicking field goals and extra points. Because if he's only a freshman with the amount of playing time that he's got so far, and I guess the positive that he's had so far, he's gonna be really good going down the road in the future.
No doubt.
Reps in there.
Absolutely.
Get some reps in there.
I'll be been trying to figure out what his range is on field goal because we practice a whole lot of extra points and we've moved the ball back a bit, but trying to figure out exactly like how deep can we go, where that special line you get on a game. I wish they had that on high school games. Like, all right, here's our target line for the field goal. We have to get to this point, so if we get 4th down, let's try to kick one. But it'd be nice to kind of see what he can do from there.
I'm still patiently waiting on that. I'm waiting for y'all to jog him out there on a 4th down one day for him to kick a field goal.
Well, we haven't. Every time we've been doing a pretty good job. Once we get in the red zone, we've been scoring touchdowns. So I want to keep continuing doing that. So
7 instead of 3 if we can.
But it's good to have an option if we're still trying to figure out what exactly his range is and what he's comfortable doing. But so we know he's pretty automatic at extra points, but that also just doesn't go down to him himself because we didn't really have field goal kicker start off the year, so it's like we didn't really need a short snapper. We didn't need a holder, so once he came into the fold, we're like, okay, we got to start snapping now. We got to start holding again. So though our two seniors stepped up to plate. Jake Duffy's been our holder for years now, and then Dash Stiggin has stepped up as a long snapper, has done a really good job and pretty good operation time there.
I want to talk about the defense a little bit also, because even though 62 points were allowed in that game, you still had some huge plays that resulted in tackles for loss in the backfield. I remember that I think Leon Johnson had 1 sack, if I remember correctly. One player that we talked about, it seems like every week on the defensive side of the ball, is Yeshua Vault. Hit another good game. I don't think he ever goes without having a good game on defense, just with his communication and how well he does at tackling. But talk about the defense and what you were happy with in that game.
Well, first, it's kind of hard to watch film of that. We didn't play very well defensively. There were some bright spots. A lot of that had to come down to is we didn't do a good job of lining up properly, and so we gave away some plays were just because of alignment purposes, and lost focused on a few plays. And again, we take care of those plays. We proved that we can make big plays in the backfield as long as we do what we're supposed to do. So, because some of those long runs, that running back was pretty good, but we also gave them a couple opportunities where we didn't fit a gap correctly, or we didn't force like we were supposed to, or we didn't get to the right zone in our coverage, which gave up an open receiver. So we got a lot of stuff to clean up in that regard. But it's good to see guys making plays in the backfield, because sometimes when you have that type of game defensively where they have the ball 8 times and they score 8 times, like there's nothing good to watch.
Yeah.
But there were some good to watch. So it's like we're close. We weren't close, but we were closer than what the film indicates that we're closer than what the score indicates in terms of being able to make a stop. Because we had a hard time getting stops on 3rd down. If we get those stops on 3rd down, then we're able to get a turnover, whether they kick the ball or kick a field goal or just make a turnover on downs. If we're able to do that, and the way our offense is playing, we're able to kind of keep that ball game close. And I remember one point in the game, we got it back within 3 scores, and I remember thinking, we get a stop right here, we go down and score again, we got it within a 2-possession game, and we still got a quarter of football left.
Yeah.
But in order to do that, you gotta make stops, and it's just one of those nights that we were having trouble, and a lot of that has to do with who you're playing too.
As we mentioned, very good football team. That's a team that they're going to finish top 3 in their region probably. They're going to be a really good team come playoff time and a really tough out. And it's good to get that game in because, as you mentioned, same as the Williamsburg game, it's a playoff type team. And I know walking off the field, you and I talked after the game, and even in a defeat like that, you weren't disappointed because it showed that you can score against those types of defenses that you're going to see later on come playoff time.
That's and another way we were looking at it was one game gets canceled. Like right now, we're in a bye week. If we don't play that game, that's 3 weeks we're not playing football.
You're right.
And it's always better to play football than not. And we were already dropped down the 9 games by losing one. So to be able to pick Eagleton up gets us to 9 instead of having to play an 8-game schedule, which it's not fair to our kids to only play 8 games because there's not very many opportunities to be able to play football. You only get 10 guaranteed, and then if you're fortunate enough to make the playoffs, that's only 11 opportunities to be able to go play.
Right.
So losing a tenth of your season, that's hard as it is, but to lose almost a quarter of it, that's heartbreaking, especially for those seniors, and they deserve to play, whether or not what the outcome is. But I'd rather go compete, and we have a bunch of competitors on our team, so they'd rather go compete, and because we could have salvaged, the quote unquote winning streak, but that's not what matters. You have to go out and compete, and you have to go earn it, and that's kind of the mindset that we took going into it. Is we're gonna do it. We need to beat good teams.
I don't know if you noticed this also. I told you about it last week. The sideline box, they corrected it.
Oh yes, they did.
Did you notice that? Yeah.
I did. It was at the 25 because I even looked for it. I was like, see if it's out to the 20. But
did you notice you could still see the lines?
No, I didn't notice
you could
that.
Barely see the lines from where it used to be, and I looked it up because I told somebody else last week too, like, hey, that press box used to be out to the 20, and it was so weird. And I have a picture last year that I took too that shows that it was out to the 20. And if you watch football in Tennessee, it looks so odd that it reached out to the 20 because it doesn't do that at any other field in the whole entire state.
It didn't, because I would have walked out there.
Yeah, they had cones up last year to make sure that you knew, but they had 2 cones, and 2 cones. Sometimes you're just gonna blow right by the cones. But shout out to Eagleton once again, as we mentioned, very hospitable for what they did after you all after the game. Also, shout out to Eagleton one more time because
they fed us. They did a lot for us. They put a bunch on our trailer to send back to our kids, especially the ones that don't have water. I cannot commend them enough for the way they treated us, and they wanted to help out.
But I don't know if that's anything else we've got left on the Eagleton game.
I don't believe so.
I guess we'll jump right into the break. I guess we need to get Robert's commercial in on the screen right now.
It's that time.
We'll be right back in just a minute. We'll get a word from our sponsors, Baileyton Drug, David Crockett Travel Centers, and Starnes Barber Shop. We'll be right back to talk about what's next for the Huskies here on Grassroots Media.
My name is Robert Starnes. I'm a lifelong resident of North Greene County, where I currently reside here with my wife and 3 children. I was a barber in Greenville for the last 6 years, but I have recently changed locations to my new shop in Baileyton. It's at 285 Mortis Hollow Lane, Afton. I'm also a proud supporter of North Greene Athletics. Come see me for all of your men and boys grooming needs. Go Huskies!
Baileyton Drug Company services the surrounding communities of Baileyton with excellent patient care using a full-line pharmacy, over-the-counter selections, and a convenient drive-thru. When you visit us, you are treated as a neighbor, not a number. It's not just our slogan, but our culture. We're investing in our patients, local schools, and community. For over 5 years now, we have established ourselves as an independently family-run pharmacy that isn't driven by corporate goals. We are driven by what is best for your overall health and wellness. We're conveniently located so you don't have to make the drive. Prescription drugs are just the tip of the iceberg. We also offer natural remedies, essential oils, at-home medical needs such as walkers, rollators, bath accessories, as well as wound care products. And coming soon, basic urgent care services. What makes us better than other drugstores out there? When you frequent Baileyton Drug, you will receive professional, courteous, and friendly service that goes above and beyond any other pharmacy in the area. Remember, you're a neighbor, not a number.
Pizza, pancakes, or donuts. The Davy Crockett Travel Center in Baileyton has the cure for all your cravings. While you're there, shop our general store for souvenirs, gifts, and cellular accessories. In a hurry, grab a cold drink and a hot dog to go. Check us out on Facebook and come to Baileyton.
Welcome back to Grassroots Media. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber Shop, where we cover everything on the Tundra with the North Greene Huskies football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Eric Tilson and a special guest, Robert Starnes. I don't know if I should really call you special guest because we're the special guest.
That's
We're here at Starnes Barber Shop.
Kind of true. Getting the treatment today.
Absolutely. Love it here again. As I mentioned, thank you once again for letting us come by.
No problem at all.
Love coming in here. We'll have to get James and Sam in here one time.
Yeah.
That one will have to be, we'll have to put a time limit on that one because we don't want to take too much of your time and take too much of your business, because if we come in on a day you're open, then their show usually runs about an hour and 30, so we don't want to take too much business away from you.
We make special time for Grassroots Media to come in here this week, so no big deal at all.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
But Coach, it's the bye week this week.
It is a bye week.
It's the most important week of the season because you play the toughest opponent, yourselves in practice. What are you going to work on in the bye week this week? I know there's some things that you've mentioned previously that you kind of want to work out some kinks. So what are you going to work on in the bye week going forward once you go into the important weeks of region play?
Well, typically bye weeks reserved for that stuff, but this year, especially with everything going on, we've called an audible. We canceled all week practice this week, and in lieu of practice, we've been doing service projects. So literally as we speak right now, we got a group of players that are down in Newport at a distribution center helping out. We went down, cleaned out a barn yesterday, handed out water this week. So kind of the thought process is like the rest of our opponents, they're dealing with a whole lot more than we are, and we're very grateful that we were relatively unaffected. What I would say, most of our kids are mildly inconvenienced, and we're very grateful, and because of that gratefulness, we want to be able to go help people who are actually hurting and are actually in need. So just even though it's not much handing out water, it is something to be able to see people smile and kind of be grateful. And it's hard to be upset when you're helping somebody else. So and it's good to see our kids step up and be willing to help. And we've had a good deal. And like yesterday, we had a lot of different coaches from North Greene yesterday, softball, basketball, middle school coaches come out yesterday and help out and help clean out the barn. So it's been a good week in that regard. Sometimes football needs to take a back seat, especially when you got a community hurting like it is.
It's exactly what I was going to move into next. Is I've mentioned it on a few interviews that I've done since the flooding, and I might have even mentioned the same quote to you, but sometimes life is more important than football, and I commend you and your coaching staff for allowing the kids to be able to do that, take a week off of football. And it just happened that your bye week fell on a week that you were able to go out, help the community. So I commend you all for doing that. That's an awesome thing that you all are doing. I know we mentioned it last week. You even offered, I think twice on the interview, that if anybody needed help to reach out and get a hold of you guys, and they did. And sometimes that's what matters most to us, is we talk about sports each week when we sit down here, but sometimes throughout the season and just throughout life, natural disasters happen that kind of throw all plans out of the window. You kind of can't prepare for those types of things. You can't prepare for what's going to happen, and it's beautiful to see us offer help and that help actually be put to use in a scenario like that's happening this week, where you're able to go out, clear a barn out, and help clear debris from those that are affected.
Well, I mean, we could go out and probably do both. We could get better at blocking the three technique. We could clean up some of the route miscommunications we have. We could clean up some of the run fits on defense. We could do all that, and we'd get a % better.
Yeah.
But in the overall grand scheme of things, I think because high school athletics is meant to be educational, and if it's not scholastic, then what are we doing? I'm as competitive as they can be, and I do get into this to win, and because I'm a competitor, and I want to train kids into becoming winners and know how to win the right way and how to do things the right way to be more competitive. But if we're not, if all you become is so focused on success, then you can become heartless, and then that's how we get some of the problems that we have now. So we got to have some compassion, and we got to be able to be willing to help others. And we're taught most of our lives that some of the greatest things you can do is serve others, and so we at least give our kids a chance to be able to go do that and be willing to go do that ourselves.
And while we've got the time, also, I want to talk about the rest of the season, because you got the bye week this week where you're taking a week off of football to kind of reset, to help the community, and then you come back in on Monday and you look forward to a lot of important region matchups left throughout the rest of the season.
That's the rest of them is all region.
2 wins under your belt. That's already locked you into the playoffs at the end of the season. So now it's more about, okay, can we host a playoff game? What seed are we going to be going forward? And you've got arguably the most important ones left with Cosby and Cloudland. Those are the 2 teams that I think are going to pose the toughest test to you all that are left. And then you've got Unaka left on your schedule too, which is going to be, I believe, the next game up for you all next week.
Probably should go over the schedule because there have been a couple changes. So next week, I believe the 18th, we're playing at Unaka at 7 o'clock. Then on the 25th, we are playing at Cloudland at 7:30.
And that game was the original date of the Happy Valley game.
Correct. And because that's a region opponent, we needed to make that move from there. And then on November 1st, we're back at home against Cosby at 7 o'clock. So that is the rest of our regular season schedule.
And I know week 11 can kind of be confusing too, but you're playing on Friday night, correct?
Yes, we are playing on Friday. Class 2A, 4A, and 6A are playing on Thursday this year, so they get to play on Halloween. And then Class 1A, 3A, and 5A are playing on Friday night.
Hey, there's one positive of that though. You're not playing on Halloween. You're still practicing on Halloween. Are we still going to get the traditional Halloween practice?
We are definitely doing the Halloween practice.
Awesome. Have you figured out your costume yet? What it's going to be?
I'm sure my children will decide that for me.
Okay. Do they usually decide it for you?
Yep. They typically do. Right now they're obsessed with Sonic the Hedgehog, so I imagine them will have something to do with that.
Okay, awesome.
How age are the children, Coach?
5 and 3.
Who keeps you on your toes more, football team or the kids?
My 3-year-old. She is my clone. She keeps my wife and I on our toes for sure. Our 5-year-old's he's very energetic, likes to run around. He'll definitely be involved in some sort of athletics at some point. But he's very detail oriented. He don't forget anything. But my daughter, she's a fireball.
Talking about the rest of your schedule up ahead too, you got 3 games left, and we mentioned the opponents in Unaka, Cloudland, and Cosby, and we talked about the 2 most important ones left with Cosby and Cloudland, who a lot of people are expecting to be 1, 2, 3 with you all up there, and I think you get Cosby at home finally. I think you had them on the road the past 2 years, so you get them here, and then Cloudland. Will you be going to Cloudland or staying here?
From what I understand is the only thing that will decide that is whether Rome Mountain gets running water.
Okay.
And I haven't heard an update. I would imagine they have running water by this point, but I really don't know. Their field was unaffected, so they could host. So I'd imagine that if at all possible, we'll go up there.
But of course, we've still got a few weeks between now and then. Also, you got your Nate Connect. We won't talk about them too much because if we talk about them now, then we won't have much to talk about next week when we sit down again. But I've enjoyed I guess, can you call it the haircut interview?
Oh, yeah. I have too. It's been nice. Good.
Talk about a little bit of other football. I know you're a Green Bay Packers fan.
I am a Green Bay Packers fan.
I've not been able to sit down and talk about Green Bay Packers football with you, but Jordan Love injured week 1. Getting him back now. Kind of nursing him back to health a little bit. What's your season outlook for the Packers right now?
I always have a positive outlook as long as we beat the Chicago Bears.
Which it looks like it's another possibility that you beat them this year. I know they've got Caleb Williams, but
I know Coach McKinney don't want to hear that.
I thought of him too whenever you mentioned that.
No, I've got a Chicago Bears story. So back in I lived in Chicago for 3 years, and the school I worked for, one of their alumni is Brian McCaskey, and
okay.
He's part of the McCaskey family that owns the Chicago Bears. So he would invite our coaching staff to training camp every year. And they do training camp at Olivet Nazarene, which is about an hour away from Chicago. So we'd go down to training camp every year. And that was back when Mark Trestman was the head coach. So we're actually out on the field to practice, and so we're watching practice, and one observation that I made, and I thought it was kind of hilarious, is that it doesn't matter what level of football, all the different position groups all act the same. So all the offensive linemen are a bunch of big old rednecks. The receivers and DBs are real cocky, and they talk smack to one another.
A lot of times you can label them as the divas.
The quarterbacks are the cool cats. The kickers and long snappers are kind of in their own little world over there. The linebackers are absolutely crazy. I almost mistake the defensive line for receivers, because the one thing that baffled me was how tall and slender they are. And they weigh over 300 pounds. And they look like receivers out there. And that's the one thing that like baffled me, was like how impressive they look and how big they are. But the funniest part was they're doing their like varsity periods, and then they got like a scout team period where they have professional football players over there, and coaches can all agree with this. Is the scout team was like one of the worst periods of practice, because players can't read what's on a card. They screw up everything. They go the wrong way. They won't run the right route, and it's everywhere. And it was funny because this is the NFL, and those players are getting chewed out from their coaches the same way that our high school freshmen get chewed out when they can't read a card correctly. And it was hilarious watching grown men have no idea what they're supposed to do. Like they look at a card and they're like, I don't know which way to go. It's like, well, what does it say on the card? So that's my Chicago Bears story there.
Have you ever been to Lambeau Field?
I have not. You'd think I'd live there for 3 years. I'd drive up there.
Busy schedule though.
Well, I was also very poor when I was in Chicago. So
were you a coach while you were in Chicago? Also,
yeah,
it's kind of tough to manage being a coach while also wanting to go to another football game when you've probably got film and other things that you've got to prepare for.
We played on Saturdays, and so we typically would watch film on Sundays, so it made it difficult to do much during the season, especially.
I mean, a lot of times you're traveling on Saturdays too, and you might not get back till Sunday morning sometimes too. So you probably don't want to get up and go to a noon game in Lambeau, because it's you're probably not going to be able to, even with a home game. It's probably still going to be very tiring. But I don't know if there's anything else we've got.
I don't want to talk about Tennessee games. So.
Okay, we won't talk about Tennessee. I left that off the table, but Robert, once again,
thank you guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you much, Coach. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
look forward to getting back on the field and seeing the Huskies play. Won't see it this week, though. Got the bye week ahead of us, but once we get back on the field next week, we've got Unaka up there in, was it Stony Creek?
Stony Creek.
Yep. Up there in Stony Creek. But that's all we've got this week. Thank you for watching this week's edition of the Baileyton Drug Company Eric Tilson Show, presented by Starnes Barber Shop here at Starnes Barber Shop. We look forward to seeing you next time here on Grassroots Media.